Good evening, welcome to tonight's Hearthstone half hour. I'm Hammy, this is FailCraft Casts. Hope you're well and good, and we are going to be doing viewer deck challenges and viewer creation challenges tonight. So, what challenges do we have? You guys have been throwing things out on Twitter slightly earlier, and we're going to try and not die too much trying to implement your random suggestions. So first one up is Buff the Wisp from Zono. Let's go and grab some wisps and work out what we can do. So wisp, let's grab a wisp to start with. Here's a wisp. You can throw a wisp down turn 1, it's got 0-1-1. So are we thinking of some kind of wisp zoo? I'm wondering how we can build this. Into things, and welcome to those of you in the stream, and if you're on YouTube, welcome as well. So challenge number 1 is wisp. Buff the wisp. How can we buff the wisp? Well, we want to get a wisp out as soon as possible. We want to buff it up like mad and then make it a big wrecking machine. So what deck could a wisp be part of? There are quite a few, I think. Maybe we can throw it into perhaps a standard sort of buffy deck. I don't want to just drop it into a zoo or something like that. We need to think of a hero that buffing a wisp would really work well around. So you can drop the wisp for free. I think it's something like duplicate. If the wisp passes away, then you can have another 2 wisps, but then the mage doesn't have loads of buffing options. Paladin could be an interesting one. Paladin, of course, has got a whole series of buffs, and then Druid, of course, has a series of buffs as well. Shaman, we could reincarnate our wisp. Similarly, let's think of a wispy shaman. Let's see how shaman could drop into a wisp. So let's just jump into the shaman cards and find something fun. So we could give a shaman. We could give it taunt. We could buff it with additional attack. We could have a wind furying wisp. Problem is it has very low health, so we want something that's going to buff up its health also. Tricky. You have some kind of early game control deck with mages. Actually, I think that there's some room in a mage, but we're not gonna. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa! Autocomplete. Okay. Oh, that made a very random deck for us. Put Ilizan and Kel'Thuzad in, as you do. Okie dokie. Right, let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Welcome to those of you just joining. Okay, we're going to play a game with our... We're going to have to make this quick. We've got a few challenges to get through. So first up, we're going to be doing wisp. I want to be buffing the wisp. There's a fairly obvious one we could do with Paladin. I think let's go with Paladin. Paladin, there'll be a nice way to buff this wisp. So let's get the wisps in to start with. The stars of this deck, we want to make sure these wisps stay alive as long as possible. They get buffed, we get them out, and they are wrecking machines. So for starters, let's throw in all of the different buffs that we could potentially use. I'm thinking Divine Shields to keep our wisps alive. Noble Sacrifice will certainly do a good job at keeping our wisp alive. Also, Ardent Protectors. You know, this is fairly standard stuff. So I'm just trying to think of a deck where we can get wisps out early. We want some draw power. Buffing wisps, that'll go well. Maybe a Divine Favour. This is looking quite like your standard Paladin, but because it's wisp, let's focus it around Rush. So we want Young Priestess. We probably want some early game tanks. So anything that will let us keep this wisp alive for a little bit longer. So Young Priestesses will help buff. I'm thinking of Shield Bearers in case we don't get a wisp as early as we want. And also looking at other things that will buff wisp too when we get it out. Doubling a minion's attack with Blessed Champion, 3 damage and draw. Lay on Hands, Avenging Wrath as a finisher. Let's take a look at the moment. Whoa, look at the amount of cards we have that are early game. We're going to be rushing like there is no tomorrow. So anything that will help our rush speed on is always good. Let's see if we can get some good wisp buffing going on. I'm going to throw in things like equality, thinking if we can perhaps keep ourselves moving through. I've got the Sword of Justice. 1 true Sword champion can make the grade. Let's drop in a few consecrations, and we need some kind of finisher here as well. Put it like this: if we haven't won in this early game, then we're going to be in a lot of trouble. So I'm going to drop in something like a Guardian of Kings, an Avenging Wrath. That will be a finisher if we actually get to that late in the game. And then some other cards in the early to mid game that will give us some wisp ability. We can then cut down, mix it up, and see what we can do there. I'm trying to find things that buff. Oh, still seeing the title screen. Dear me, there we go. So here we go. I will restart that for your benefit. Hi, welcome to the Hearthstone Half Hour. I'm Hammy, hope you're well, and we are going to be jumping in with our viewer creation challenges. Number 1 is Wisp. Buff the Wisp, and here is most of our pre-prepared Wisp deck. So you can see that we are going to be starting with the 2 Wisps that the deck is built around, and we're going to rush and find ways that we can buff that Wisp. A lot of early game cards, and we need to grab 4 more cards and then get ourselves all tuned up. So we're going to get Wisp, we can buff all kinds of early game minions, we need some more early game damaging minions and draw power. So fairly easy options there. I think that we're probably going to go for none other than, not a Blood Mage, but I'm thinking Ooze work well here because we can buff those as well. Loot Hoarders will also let us draw. So we've got a huge rush on there with all of these kind of things. Sword of Justice, True Silver, Noble Sacrifice and Redemption. We have too many secrets, I think, at this point in time. So let's drop the Redemptions, the Noble Sacrifice can stay in there, and let's pack in some Haunted Creepers. They'll help us with the rush. I'm also thinking that maybe we can drop to 1 Noble Sacrifice and then go in with a Knife Juggler. In fact, let's drop 2 Noble Sacrifice, going with 2 Knife Jugglers, and we're just going for a crazy rushing Whispered in. So we may as well try and grab some other cards that complement that. 2 Equality is probably not necessary. Gonna drop to 1, and then look at maybe dropping in a Mad Scientist or 2 to yank out the couple of secrets that we do have. In fact, we don't really have huge amounts of secrets anyway. I don't think I've grabbed the new Paladin secret, have I? I haven't done the Paladin class challenge. That is annoying. Maybe we should jump in and grab that before we can do our thing. Let's get the Avenging Wraths in there. Okie dokie. This is where the shame. I'm 1 card short of a full deck. Do I want to finish this automatically? No. Do I want some kind of finisher? Yes. Maybe we'll look at having Sylvanas or something as a finisher in the early game. Or we'll go for a Master Swordsmith. Look at that. How's that for a rush deck? How'd you like those apples? Right then. So we can see this deck and we're going to go nuts in the early game. We have just the biggest rush mana curve known to science. Let's see how we go. Buff the Wisp, challenge at number 1. Let's see how we can get on. And I'm actually going to jump into a casual with our Buff the Wisp and see how we can get on. Okay, let's jump into casual mode, the best place to be testing decks. And we have a warrior. Could be brand new, could be an experienced player, we just do not know. Okay, well I have no Wisp. I'm going to shield bear into Swordsmith and hope that we can get our Wisp out as soon as possible. So for this deck challenge to be met, we just have to buff a Wisp during this game, I think, given that there are only 2 Wisps. And we move into an Echoing Ooze. Interesting, I cannot buff that at this point, but what I am going to do is have some fun and throw down 2 shield bearers and just say, hey, warrior. Nothing says, oh, you're going to be rushed than seeing 2 shield bearers drop on the first go, but our warrior's not too concerned. Down goes his axe, just going to start swinging away at the tanks, I think. There we go, as expected. It will take him a little while, maybe he's got Executes, Whirlwinds and similar to be getting this out. So let's get down the Swordsmith, start getting our buffs on. Yeah, 1 attack. I can drop the Creepers, I can drop an Echoing Ooze. I'd ideally like to buff that Ooze, but we'll see how that comes through. Raging Worgen. I cannot kill that straight away. Axe to probably remove the 1, yep. another tank down, and of course he can tip himself into damage, or he can whirlwind to trigger that and have a 5 damage. So we have some pressure to be getting on, but I can start all of my zooing going. So we now have the Young Priestess buffing the health, we have the Master Swordsmith buffing the attack. Maybe not buffing in the optimal way there, but hey, random number generation is what is going on here. Down goes the Berserker, Enrage +3, and in a rage, deal 1 +2, that makes him a +6, and with Wind Fury as well, so he can then hit me to the face as well. So, what's he going for? Yep, he's just going for the face as expected, and we can see that this warrior has got some reasonably cheap cards, but a lot of aggroability, or however you would like to call it. So I think just throwing down a Consecrate is good. That's going to get rid of those, and then I think out of all these, well, we kind of want to keep our buffing cards alive. So we'll get 2 spiders. Who knows who's going to get the health? Spider gets some health, and who gets the attack? The spider gets the attack, sorry, and our swordsmith just keeps getting the help. Fugan and Stalag. I've seen a lot of Fugan and Stalag in the last day or two. I think there's a shaman deck. You know, I've been a little bit negligent in keeping up with other people's streams, but there is definitely a shaman Stalag Fugan deck that revolves around using Reincarnate. So you destroy your own Fugan. Fugan comes back to life, and then if you've already had Stalag or Fugan killed, you bring the other back to life with Reincarnate. Then you have not only that, but a Thaddeus as well, and then when this dies, then another Thaddeus spawns. So there's some rather nasty Fugan, Stalag, Thaddeus combos. You can have 2 11 attack, 11 health Thaddiuses out if you play your cards right and get a bit of luck with the draw. That's quite a fun and interesting deck to take a look at. Right, so this is submitted by Zano, this challenge. Our next challenge is going to be probably Control Warrior without legendaries. Sounds interesting. Can't believe this is working so well. Yeah, it's kind of a paladin aggro. It's a rush paladin, just with a 2 debris in, 2 wisps in. So I'm not going to sort of turn around and say it's a rocket science deck that will revolutionise Hearthstone as we know it, but it is some good fun. Right, but the thing I must do is get these nasty bits off the table, so you know what. Okay, that's down. Remember, of course, if the other one dies, then we're going to get a Thaddeus on the table. So I'm just going to keep rushing in with all my minions. If I'd had a knife juggler, that would have been doing even better. And rushing in for a grand total of 5 per turn at this point. Although I've lost my priestess, I'm still getting a few extra additional attack buffs. Oh, I can now do 6 next turn, how exciting. Of course, remember that 1 whirlwind, oh, a brawl. Had to be expected. Oh, Echoing Ooze. Ooze lives on. And if I'd managed to get Sword of Justice out, then I'd have had even more aggro on the table. There's not really much thinking needed here. Throw down the cards on the table, point them towards the enemy, and charge. But one can argue that the simplest strategies are the best ones, and this is surely a simple strategy. Okay, so what can our warrior friend do? Now, of course, we don't know. He's certainly been ranked 20 at one point to get a card back. But he really just needs some control. There goes Stalag. So if that also dies, then remember an 11/11 Thaddeus gets spawned. I'd rather avoid that, so I'm not going to be wanting to kill that too quickly. So what can we grab here? Well, I think that a bomb is probably the sensible play. And there we go, charging all of these up. And I'm just going to keep rushing to the face. So we have further. Now you could sacrifice this to get a Thaddeus against my Haunted Creeper. I think that's quite a likely play. He'll get an 11/11 Thaddeus. We'll see that come out. And then this, if he can damage, then it will enrage to +3. Corcoran Elite, that gives him pretty much a clear of most of my minions. And gives him a few bits of change spare. There we go. Arcanite Reaper will also let him clear another minion. Ooh, maybe this is swung against us. This is where equality will be our friend. And there we go. So, of course, where's Thaddeus? There we go. There's Thaddeus himself. However, thank goodness for equality. This is why this card is just so ridiculously good. And of course, note that he can't enrage because he only has 1 health to start with. So there we go. There go the trades. I'm going to throw that on the table and just say, hey, I hear you like Blessing of Kings, Silverhand recruits. This does make this a target to get knocked off the table. And let's face it, he's on 7 health. But nice little combo there. Standard arms or pirate warrior. Execute, very nice. So he's now actually got 13 damage there. If I cannot protect against it, then I'm going to be in some trouble. I missed lethal. Ooh, what was my lethal? Was it the Blessing of Kings beforehand? It was, wasn't it? Yep, you're quite correct. I did miss a lethal. Oh dear. Spiders and Blessing of Kings. Good call, Modi. This is why I can't have nice things. Well, the weapon is going to lose its durability at least. Yep, lethal missed. Thank you for calling that. Okay, he's saving that for his last bit of stuff. Okay, I think that what I'm going to have to do... yes. So that means either I'm going to lose that, sadly. I'm going to have to push on. I still didn't quite have a lethal. Another core Krawn Elites, and that is a tasty 11 damage. I think we have lost this due to our own badness. He takes one to the face. He will take away his Arcanite Reaver because he can take a buff on the Gurubashi Berserker. Alright, Knife Juggler, 9 damage. He's got a 9 on me next turn. I've got a 5 on him. Unless I can draw something that does 7. Whether he goes for the face, whether he tries to trade the minions away. And I need something that does 4 additional damage to drop out next turn. Okay, we have an opponent who's thinking about a trade. There goes the trade. He's just buffing his Gurubashi. Lethal virtually next go. There goes Captain Greenskin. So what we're fighting against is a fairly... Oh, isn't that fun? Ah, how fun would this be if it did most of them to him? Go on. Go on, RNG. You got this covered. RNG. 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 Oh, so close. Well, that does keep me alive another day, doesn't it? Yes, I bought myself one more turn. If 8 of those in RNG had hit his warrior, how hilarious would that have been? Nothing Berserker goes down, 5 to the face from Captain Greenskin. And remember that if I damage that twice, this is going to get buffed. That's a really useful card at this point in time. It's going to do nothing. And now the problem is, you see, that if I damage this twice, then this is going to get buffed to 4 damage and it will be lethal anyway. So this is actually game. Let's do it anyway. Let's illustrate the point. Okay, so that is a good game. And that's number 1 down. The Wisp Challenge. We didn't even see a Wisp in the Wisp Challenge. But we've given that a go. So, the aggro din did not quite do it, but we did have a lethal, as Mouldy very kindly pointed out, that got missed. Oh, missed. So next, our next challenge is from Mouldy himself. And it is Control Warrior without legendaries. Okay, so, are we allowed rares? I'm going to ask. Are we just allowed everything apart from so are we allowed epics, or is it just no legendaries? It just says no legendaries. I'm going to take it that we're allowed epics as well. Okay, cool. So this actually the key will be in the finisher, so it's quite an interesting challenge from Mouldy this, because what we can do is we can grab, and I'm just running through because this is one of the decks I know reasonably well. You see immediately Cruel Taskmaster might not make the grade. The core of Control Warriors we can see is actually not legendary by grabbing this kind of stuff. So I can even have a Gorehowl, but I can't have Grommash. So you can actually see that there I've built the first half of the deck, in fact 3/4 of the deck, without using a single legendary. So the thing is that in a Control Warrior, and we'll just go to one of my Control Warriors here to illustrate the point, you then have Cairn, Baron, Grommash, Ragnaros, Alexstrasza. So I need the big finishers that are going to be causing chaos in the late game. Right, time to go and plumb this 7 mana plus piece without legendary. So what can we use to finish things off? As you can see, so many legendaries at the top. Giants? Giants could be an option. If I can stuff my hand full of cards. You do tend to have quite a lot of cards in your hand as a you can get, but then I need additional card draw to feed the giants. So maybe giants could work as finishers. The other option is I could make it into a bit more of a Watcher Warrior. Let's have a think. Number 6. Well, Lord of the Arenas would do a job. Frost Elementals. Gelbin's a legendary. Curses. I'm not going to get away with that one. Sylvanas also a legendary. Sunwalkers I like. I just like this card. They're not a finisher, but they do just make things really, really awkward. The other option is that we go for more, make it like a mid-range warrior. We take control of the board and really slam them in mid-game so that they can't get back. Things like Captain Greenskin. Again, oops. See how hard this is. Faceless Manipulator will let us steal our opponent's options, so I'm tempted for a couple of those. I'm thinking what we can do. Maybe we just go like weapons. Maybe we go control weapons and grab some and just have loads of sort of weapon attacking options. That could be quite fun. So other options that will let us, and the other thing we could do is maybe watcher it up a little bit. Arathi Weaponsmith, we could sort of combo in weapons as well. Just keep swinging away with weapons, maybe that. So you can see that this is a really, instead of making it a control warrior, we've suddenly made it sort of an early to mid-game warrior, but we need some chunky minions that will sit in that mid-game and do the job for us. But really things have got a little bit of attacking ability, not just tanking or slowing down the opponent. I'm thinking maybe the Frostwolf Warlord could be a good finisher, but if I can pack the battlefield. Silverhand Knights could also do a job. Gorehowl finisher, 2 Faceless, that can copy some of my other charging cards. 2 Arcanite Reapers, we really have so many weapons here. It would be shame not to include something like the Spiteful Smith. How much is the Spiteful Smith? I think that's a 5 or a 6 drop, isn't it? Let's find the Spiteful Smith. There we go. I think Spiteful Smith is our I was about to say man. Spiteful Smith is our Smith. So we've got full on control. I don't actually think maybe we can drop a bit lower on cleave, because what we're going to need is more minions. The Spectral Knight can also do a finishing job for us. But what we need is really good draw power as well in the early game if we're drawing into our weapons. So let's go and take a look at the early game to see what we can grab to keep pressure on there. Removing durability from weapons. One thing I really haven't considered is grabbing more weapons-based cards, say the Pirate family of cards. Give me all cards, please. Right, let's take a look at Pirates. I think the Pirate or 2, given the amount of weapons we have, could do pretty well for us. No secrets, no need. Or maybe Loot Hoarders, just so we can get some draw going. Shield Slams, we've got Shield Blocks. A lot of decks go without Cleave nowadays. I'm going to drop Cleave, so we've got more drawability in terms of the Loot Hoarder. Right, so that is quite a nuts deck. We are grabbing weapons and literally hurling ourselves at the face of the enemy. There is absolutely no backing down. I'm thinking, interesting option there, in terms of a Nerubar Weblord. Do we have anything with Battle Cry? Yes. Yep. Okay, we don't want to prevent battle cries then. I'm just thinking of things that like the pirate what gets more power. when you have a weapon. You know the one. Cost 3 mana. Come on, brain. Brain. No, it's gone. Pirate. Search for pirates. Yes, Bloodsail Raider is what I'm looking for, and we need to trade a couple of those in. Frothing Berserkers are good. We need quite a lot of offense. I also don't have the Acolyte of Pain. That's a bit of a miss in this deck. I'm going to drop the Weaponsmith because I've actually I've got the 2 Arcanite Reapers, so I'm going to drop the Weaponsmiths for Acolytes. And then look and see if I can. I wanted to grab my South Sea Captain. Pirate. Bloodsail Raider. Pardon me, it is the Bloodsail Raider. So Slam, I could probably drop down to 1 Slam for a Bloodsail Raider. What I really want to be doing is dominating the table. Frothing Berserker, Crawl Cron. Do I need 2? I'll drop 1 Brawl and get another Bloodseal. So there we go. There is our really slightly nuts. It's not really control. We've kind of gone like myriad of control and a little bit of arms as well. So let's jump into a casual with our new warrior. Challenge number 2. I'm actually going to grab this deck list. This is an interesting deck list. You see a few more hybrid deck lists doing the rounds now. So I'm hoping that this will give us something a little bit interesting. Who knows, maybe we found the magic anti-meta deck that will take us to legend. Control arms. The challenge is when you mix 2, you need cards that bring them together in terms of synergy. So we have control elements, but then we've also got some aggressive elements of arms. Okay, and we have a paladin as our opponent numero uno. I'm going to grab the list so we can have it ready on our right hand side for you. Now what do we want? Well, we want early game draw options. I want probably weapons. I want offensive options. I'm going to be controlling a lot with the face, and that's not so bad. In the loot hoarder we can draw the Bloodsail Raider when we get a weapon, and Armor Smith to armor up. Gorehowl isn't perhaps the weapon we'd want to draw, but let's see. And an Arcanite Reaper as well makes its way in. Well, I need card draw, so let's just get the loot hoarder out and start pushing forward. Alrighty then, Harvest Golem comes down, so we've got a pretty paladin-y style thing so far. Just like the paladin that we ourselves have been playing, so far so good. Or so far so known, should we say. Okay, what is our next option going to be when we don't have weps? The Armor Smith is all well and good. Shield Block will armour us up. I'm quite happy to just get the aggro on. Remember that although we do have control elements, we do need to make sure that we keep tipping away for damage as well. It is not as though we have huge amounts of finishers. We have weapons aplenty that we can swing to his face with. Harvest Golem goes down, so we need to build up some armour. He's just like, so, I don't particularly care about your minions because I've got minions to face your minions. Right, first weapon down, lovely stuff. We can Bloodsail Raider, but that will get controlled due to its small health by one of these. Most likely, remember, both of those are going to pop something. So let's pop one of them to start with. Remove that, and we can remove this, I think. Let's get some armour on. I'm going to then charge to the face and arm up. I'm going to save that Bloodsail Raider for when I can drop it, and hopefully make sure that it is not going to just get bidden off the table in one turn. Of course, Bloodsail Raider. Oh, there goes the silence. The Armor Smith will get it, I think. No, he's denied my card draw. Interesting play. And with that, minion removed. Right, Shield Slam. That's going to help me with my removal. So good. We can get him well under control here, but notice that what we need to do is drop this, I think, before we then control this away, because then he's not going to have an answer for it. And now we have the 5-3. So we're broadly on the right health, and we have not managed to get a big chunky minion on the table. So at this time we have tempo. We're sort of a little bit swinging on the good side of things. Follow the rules. Hello, Order Peacekeeper. Resets our strategy back to 0. And then, with a Paladin reporting for duty, we have some issues. Okay, the Arcanite Reaper hits the deck. We're now ready to start swinging to the face for all we have. So I'm going to assume that he doesn't have any ooze or anything like that. So I can swing again, I can swing with Gorehowl. We can get 17 damage on him in 3 turns and then Corcoran for the win. So we certainly have got enough weapons-based danger. Trade's coming out. I hope he does have 6 mana. There are all kinds of nasty that he could bring out. I think the Corcoran into a shield block is a good option, and then we can Gorehowl. Any Arms Warrior deck that's pure is literally just how much damage can you throw out, can your opponent keep up. Lower Theb, okay, well that just overrules the shield block plan. And if I was going to be Wind Furying, that's not going to be happening today either, so let's... I'm just going to have to sell for 2 armour instead of 5 and a card, a poor substitute. What I'm basically saying to this guy is, come after me, but do I have enough damage? A Leroy might have been good actually as a finisher. Sludge Belcher is certainly going to slow me down. With that removal, it's going to slow me a very chunky amount. Silence is what this deck is missing. I still do have all of the control elements. What am I saying? I've got loads of control in this deck. I just need to draw them, and there's one. There we go, with all of that removed. Oh, just one short. I can swing for another 3, and then 7. Lower Theb is still going to be hitting me. Hitting and hitting and hitting. Senjin Shieldmaster, Tazdingo. Okay, well, I'm not going to be removing that anytime soon. We're just going to have to drop into Gorehowl and get swinging. We need to get through. The mail must get through. 8 damage. Will we draw the cards? Will we draw the draw power? There's only one way to find out. And in this situ, we're kind of delicately poised. Now this is where it shows the sort of interesting bits of control, but then also the interesting bits of arms. But you can see where my deck is suffering as a bit of a hybrid, is that it's not really doing either. Without the legendaries, I could have just swapped all of the legendaries out for some straight up big finishes. As a result, I'm not really playing this as full control, I'm not really playing it as full aggro, and for that reason we're suffering a little bit. Now we're down to all of 13 health. Well, hey, I've got an Arcanite Reaper, right. So, however, he has 11 damage and I have 13. So, I think trying to trade some of this damage off the table is a good idea. Spiteful Smith, if I enrage then I get a 2 attack weapon. I could just go for the removal of Lower Theb and keep things moving and drop another weapon. That could be quite nice. But then I'm taking a risk next turn as to if he can do 2 more damage. At least if I do it on my terms, I can increase that to 4 more damage. But if I attack this, I'm taking the damage from him anyway. Let's take a risk. Hail Mary. Can you do 4, 5 more damage? 4 more damage. I'm sure 3 more damage actually. Yeah, I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was. I'm saying 8 damage. I've got an Arcanite Reaper. Yep, changes it to 1. Okay, but if you enrage, you give me 2 attack on my weapon. I get a 7 weapon. All depends on what I top deck. Okay, he just takes it straight out. He's gone for the trades rather than risk it. He just doesn't know what I've got in hand. 10 health, so certainly playing cautiously. But still 7 mana. And down goes Cam with his 7, so he's certainly got enough to do the damage next turn. Oh, execute. No, that's not going to quite keep me in the battle, is it? Oh, it depends if he's got 3. Your move, Paladin. You can do 8 damage. Have you got 4? He needs to find 4 damage to take us down. If he can do 4, or he needs to remove my weapon, or he needs to be able to heal. Yep. Well, if he taps me with all 3, it suggests that he's got 4 somewhere. Weapon? Is it a weapon? Is it Ragnaros? Place your bets now! Is it Leroy Jenkins? There was a show on the TV called Banzai, which was a comedy sort of Takeshi's Castle sort of style show. Oh! Ho, 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 ho. Nicely done. And that takes us to a nice win for number 2. So that is going to be it. We're going to take the challenges that we didn't manage to get through for you guys, and we will do them next week. That was quite good fun. So we have challenges in terms of the next one we're going to do is we've had a Pirate Warrior challenge, and we've had a deck with I believe, what was the request? It was go for a deck with no legendaries at all, and if so, see how long a winning streak you can potentially get on the ladder. So we'll do that as well. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you've been watching this on YouTube, come join us for some more. You can find us at youtube.com/FailCraft Casts. A whole bunch of Hearthstone half hours there where we do deck garages, arenas, ladder sort of analysis and similar. So we have a whole bunch of funs there. Other things you can see, twitch.tv/FailCraft Casts. We are live Monday through Friday with that schedule. And in terms of Twitter, you'll always find out when we're going live on @FailCraftCasts. We'll always tweet there before we go live. And then last but not least, the website is failcraft.org. Go have a look there and see how you do it. So thanks very much for tuning in. If you're live, might be back in a bit. We'll tweet you if so. If you're on YouTube, then